1917 is a film everyone's been praising, everyone's been loving. It won Best Picture. It was coming out in December or November of last year in select cinemas, but now it is finally released January 10th, and I finally got to see 1917. Apparently one of the greatest war films ever made to some people. And do I agree with that? Absolutely. 1917 is quite amazing, but without that further ado, let's talk about it.
We need to keep moving! Come on!
He can't possibly make it that way, man! You bloody insane!
So 1917, as I already said in the beginning of this video, in the title, it's not just one of the best war films ever made, it is one of the best films, in my opinion, to ever be filmed. This film is truly amazing. I can't find a single flaw with 1917. This film gives you anxiety on so many levels. It's one of the most intense and engaging films I think I've ever seen. And everyone is talking about the one take thing that this is made to look like one continuous shot, which let's talk about this. This film is made to be looking like one continuous shot. Besides one or two times where you can tell when they cut, especially one time you can really tell they cut. There's some sequences, like from the beginning, there's like 20 minutes in the beginning of this film, which is one continuous shot. I'm like, how? How did they pull this off? And also, there's so many other scenes, like there's one scene that's intense, but also the ending of this film, there's one scene that you see in the trailer when he's running with all these soldiers running across the battlefield, and there's explosions and planes and bombs going everywhere, and it just keeps on going. He's getting tripped and getting pushed by soldiers, but he just keeps on and going, and it just puts you in this intense situation, because 1917 is so intense that you can't help but be at ease. When there's no break moment. Even when the soldiers are resting, you're looking at the fields and being like, okay, is anyone coming? Because even when they're resting, you're the eyes. If they ever get a rest, sit down against a tree, you are never resting. The camera always puts you at the center of the sequences. And it's not just a behind the shoulder shot. There's some shots where it just circles around, and it's amazing. The dialogue in this film was also was also written by Sam Mendes, and also he helps write this film as well. The dialogue in this film is some of the best dialogue ever, because besides, of course, some things like if they have to get orders, which is kind of exposition, all the dialogue is not exposition. It's not to compress the story. It's just two characters talking as they go through these intense situations, or soldiers just having a conversation about literally nothing that has to do with the plot, but they act like normal people. And I think this is one of the war films, along with Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, that they actually feel like normal people. They don't feel like Hollywoodized soldiers in this film, like let's just say Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor or Michael Bay's Transformers or any of those other films that you can tell, okay, there it is, Hollywoodized soldiers. This film doesn't feel like that, because the direction by Sam Mendes is absolutely amazing. This movie cinematography was Roger Deakins, I think that's how you say his name, I'm not really sure, and he's one of the best cinematographers ever. This film looks amazing. The cinematography, the shots, the sound design as well. This has some of the best sound mixing and sound design I've ever seen in a film. It's amazing. How's the performances, though? Because you can have good direction, good sound design, good cinematography, but if the acting doesn't work, especially in this film where it's one continuous shot and the acting has to be spot on, the acting in this film is some of the best I've ever seen, because it's always one take. The camera's always rolling most of the time. Actually, 99.9% of the time, the camera is always rolling, besides a couple of times I already said. So it makes you feel like you're there. It's an intense, the acting sequences, especially with one scene that I won't spoil, it's some of the best acting I've seen in one take. And also, this movie takes risks. There's a character that does end up dying, which I'm not going to spoil when does. I was like, okay, that's a surprise. And it keeps on going. It keeps you on the edge of your seats. There's so many sequences that the characters main characters don't really get a break, so you never get a break. The characters are always getting either running against enemy lines, they're getting underground, they're getting bombs exploded, they're going through water and falls and falling down waterfalls and all that stuff, and it's intense. It's gripping. The music in this film, or I guess the lack of music, there's not really much music in this film, but when there is, it's some of the best music I've ever seen. I can't praise 1917 enough. If you weren't going to see 1917 because it doesn't seem like your type, I'm begging you to see this film. Please see 1917. It's one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. I think Sam Mendes has a future of being one of the best directors, because yes, he did Skyfall and Spectre, and those are big kind of medium blockbusters, but I love that this film is a smaller scale. Also, a couple things. I like that this one was set in World War I, and it's over 100 years ago, and I feel like a lot of people kind of forget World War I and really focus on World War II and like Midway and Pearl Harbor, and they kind of forget about this much more kind of smaller scale sequences. Because yes, Midway and Pearl Harbor were very famous war sequences and events of history that we don't want to forget about. But I feel like the kind of World War I and the smaller things of this year 1917 kind of got pushed to the sides. Problems with this film? No. People complain that the character development isn't that strong. It's a war. You're not just going to sit around and talk about things, talk about a fire. I think this film is a brilliantly filmed. And of course, I'm going to give 1917, if there was a higher grade I could give it, it would absolutely get it. But 1917 definitely deserves an A+. So those were my thoughts on Sam Mendes' new film, 1917. What did you think of it? Down in the comment section below. Let me know. And if you're not planning on seeing this film, please let me know if I convinced you to see it. Otherwise, like this video, guys. Haven't liked it already. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. General out.